Hi everyone, it's Andrea from Movers and Bakers. To continue with my Biscoff obsession, I'm going to share with you today how I make Biscoff donuts. These are beautiful soft donuts topped with a decadent Biscoff glaze, and they are ready in half an hour. Let's get baking. Right, to start with, you have to preheat your oven. I've got my oven set and warming at 180 Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit. Before I make my mixture, I have to prepare my pan. So you can get these pans very easily online or in baking stores. This one is a medium donut pan. So to prepare your pan, you can't just put your mixture straight in there. It will just get stuck and not come out, and you will not be able to use your donuts. So to prepare it, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of regular butter. I'm just going to cut little bits off and just rub it all along the inside. So just using your fingers, you can use a bit of kitchen towel if you prefer not to get your fingers dirty. And you just want to coat the inside, making sure that you've gone all the way up the sides of it as well. And that's just going to help your donuts release from the pan really easily. So once your pan is greased, we're going to set that aside and make our donuts. So into a large bowl, I'm going to sift in, because I always like to sift in my flour. This is 150 grams of plain flour. And I'm also going to put in some baking soda or bicarbonate of soda. That's half a teaspoon there. Half a teaspoon of baking powder and half a teaspoon of salt. Sift all that in. This is so simple. It comes together in minutes, and it's so versatile. You can make different flavors. I have really enjoyed making donuts. They're a bit dangerous actually, but delicious. So that's all that sifted in, and to that as well, I'm going to add my brown sugar. This is 65 grams of light brown sugar. I'm going to give it a very quick whisk just to mix everything together and completely combine my dry ingredients. There we go, all done. Set that aside. Now it's time for our wet ingredients. So in a smaller bowl, because I don't need as much space, I've got 1 egg. To my egg, I'm going to add 80 mils of milk and 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 teaspoon of white vinegar. We'll give them a quick mix together before I add my final ingredient into my wet mix. And that is my butter. This is 60 grams of butter, and I've melted it in the microwave, so it's all liquid, and I'm going to whisk as I put it in, just to make sure that the butter doesn't solidify too much, so it all mixes through really well. So just drizzle it in as you're whisking. And that's all my wet ingredients mixed together. Now it's time to put them together. So into my large bowl with my dry ingredients, I'm literally going to pour all my wet ingredients in and just give them a mix. Now these are not your usual bready type donuts. These are much more like a cake, hence you bake them. With regular bready donuts, you would fry them. They need to be fried. So these are much quicker, much simpler to make, and to be honest, I actually prefer this version to the bready fried version. That's it, that is my mixture all done. The last ingredient I'm going to put in, just for a bit of extra Biscoff flavor, because these are Biscoff donuts, is some Biscoff biscuits. Now this is 5 Biscoff biscuits here, and I've just crushed them up by hand, so they're just in rough crumbs, but you want to make sure that they're small enough crumbs that they're going to come through your piping bag when you pipe it into your biscuit tin, into your donut tin. Try that again, donut tin. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to tip these in and just mix them through. And then we are ready to pipe these and get them in the oven. So I have a piping bag here, and I'm going to I've already cut the end of my piping bag off, and I'm going to put a little nozzle in. You don't need to put the nozzle in, you can just snip the end of your piping bag off. That would be absolutely fine. I just like working with a nozzle. So I've popped my nozzle in the bottom, and I'm going to fill my bag up and pipe it into my prepared donut tin. There we go. So if you've never done filling a piping bag before, there's a few ways you can do it. You can either put it over a glass, and the rim of the glass will hold it open really well for you. Or if you're a bit lazy to get a glass out like me, You can just do it and just cup your hand around it, and your hand will keep it all open for you. So I'm going to do this in a couple of goes. This will make you about 9 or 10 donuts, this mixture. And you don't want to overfill your piping bag because it becomes really hard to pipe anything from it if you do. So don't fill it all the way to the brim, or as you squeeze it will start coming out the other end as well, and that's not very helpful. So we'll push that down until it's almost out. There you go. And then it's time to fill it. Now with these, it's really important to remember that you don't fill them all the way to the top, because what will happen is as they bake, the mixture will rise and you won't get a hole in the middle of your donut anymore. So you want to fill them about 2/3 the way full, and you are just going to use this for accuracy. So I'm just going to pipe around a couple of times just to make sure I've got enough mixture to make a donut. So you want about that much mixture in your pan. And we're going to fill these up, and then I'm going to pop them in the oven. They will bake for about 10 minutes. I will leave them to cool in this pan for a couple of minutes before I release them onto a cooling rack. And then they're ready to be iced. Welcome back. So I ended up, out of my mixture that I made with you earlier, I actually ended up getting a dozen donuts, which is brilliant. More donuts, the better, I say. So time for the glaze. These donuts are now cool. They do not take long. They take about 10 minutes to cool down because they're fairly thin. So those are ready to be glazed. To make my glaze is super simple. I have some icing sugar in a bowl here. That's 150 grams of icing sugar, and don't worry if you don't remember all of this. I will be putting the quantities in the link below this video, so you can catch them all again if you haven't had chance while you're watching me. Right, and to my icing sugar, I'm going to put some Biscoff spread. Now I am using the smooth Biscoff spread, and what I have done, this is 80 grams of Biscoff, and I have just popped it in the microwave for 20 seconds or so, just to get it, as you can see, really nice and runny. I'm going to pop that in to my bowl with my icing sugar. And while I am doing this, just a reminder to you to like, and if you've enjoyed this video, to like it, and don't forget to subscribe so you'll find all my videos coming to you as soon as I've shared them with you. There you go, that's all my Biscoff in there. And I'm going to whisk that up, but I'm going to put a little bit of milk in. Now, how much milk you need will completely depend on how thick you want your icing to be. I'm going to start with a couple of teaspoons of milk, and I'll mix it up. It's much easier to add more milk if you need to, rather than taking it away. So I would always go that way around. And icing sugar, as much as it looks like there is a lot of sugar here, it actually absorbs liquids super easily. So you want to just keep adding your milk until you get a consistency that you are happy with. I am nowhere near there yet, but the thing I find with icing sugar quite often is you put a little bit and it might be a little bit too much. So I always prefer to go on the side of caution. But once I am done, I tend to add between 2 and 3 tablespoons worth of milk to my glaze. Now, you don't want your glaze to be really runny. You want it to be thick enough that it's going to hold onto your donuts and stick there. But you obviously don't want it to be so thick that you can't even get it on. Okay, so I've decided that doing it by hand was too hard, even though I've done that way before. So I've just got my handy electric beater, and it's so much easier. So we still need, you can see it's still really thick. So I'm going to put a little bit more milk in, but we're not far off. Whee! Okay, I'll be serious. And when you are there with your glaze, you want it to be this kind of really lazy dropping off your spatula or your mixer, whatever you're using. That's the texture that you're looking for your glaze. So we are good to go. And now, because I decided to pull out my electric mixers, we're going to have a lovely smooth glaze as well. It's definitely not going to have any lumps of sugar or anything like that left in it, which is brilliant. So I'm just grabbing all the bits off the side and putting it in, and you can see how that falls off my spatula in a beautiful, smooth, lazy almost kind of way. And that's what you're looking for. Okay, So now that that's done and good to go, all I'm going to do is grab a donut and pop it in, give it a little bit of a wiggle just to make sure it's got in any bits that didn't get covered with it when you went in, and then you're going to pull it out, let it drip off a little bit. And there is your glaze. Now, I do actually prefer the glaze to be a bit thicker, so this might be too thick for you, but that is just how my family and I like our glaze. So I pop that to the front so I can show you more easily. Once you have done your glaze, as soon as you have done your glaze, just grab, these are just regular Biscoff biscuits, just for a bit of extra Biscoff. I'm just going to crumble some over the top of my glaze. And there you have it. All that I have to do now is do all the rest of them. But that is my Biscoff donuts. Super easy, super delicious. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget, if you have, to like it as always, and do subscribe so you'll always know. And get sharing. I want you to share these amazing donuts with everyone you know. Thanks for joining me today, friends. See you next time. Happy baking.